What's up, Mortgage Coach community? Dave Savage coming live with Wally Illiberry. What's up, Wally?
Hey, man, thanks for having me. But I don't really matter. Dominic is going to be the man today. So
Exactly. Well, I wanted to bring you in first just because I've interviewed you so many times. You're such a special leader in the mortgage space. And last time I did Wally about how he's gone from 11,000 mortgages under management to, I think it's over 27,000 mortgages under management. By the way, they're all being managed by Sales Boomerang and Mortgage Coach. He was super passionate during the call. You mentioned Dominic. And then after the call, he's like, hey, this guy is really a special success story. And I am passionate about bringing next gen leaders into the mortgage space and helping next gen leaders that enter the mortgage space rapidly become successful. So Dominic, you are the man. Welcome to the Mortgage Coach community.
Thank you so much, Dave. Really appreciate it. And of course, appreciate Wally for all of his leadership and you guys over at Mortgage Coach for such amazing software and technology. Really helps us take that next step moving forward with all of our clients.
That's awesome. And thank you for being a success story, someone that's done well enough in this business that we want to put you on a stage and we want to amplify what you're doing, how you got there. Before I bring them on, I do want to make sure I mention and promote the halftime report that I recently worked on and came out with. I'm going to show a picture of it on the screen, but of all the content I've ever created as a thought leader in the mortgage space, there's nothing that I have worked harder on. Like I put over 30 man hours into building this piece of content. And it started off as a project where this is a new year. Like I know it's halftime, we're in the beginning of July or now we're in the middle of July. But it's a whole different year than what we planned for in Q4 of last year. And so what I did here, and if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see that I interviewed a number of very successful, very accomplished leaders in the mortgage space. You notice I'm still scrolling, but I interviewed Steve Jacobson, the CEO of Fairway, who's one of Mortgage Coach's first enterprise clients. And you'll notice that you can watch the interview. You can read the transcript to it. Bill Dallas, Susan Stewart. I'm not going to read off all the names, but I interviewed top producing loan officers. I interviewed CEOs. I interviewed industry coaches. Todd Duncan. I interviewed Garth Graham. All kinds of people. And then Kristen Messerly and I took that content and we pulled out like what were the most important data points. When we did this, we made it so you guys could go in and you could just screen share that and use it in your social media. So there's lots of good data points here. And then we came up with recommendations. Like what are specific things that we think if you want to win in 2022 in the second half, what are specific recommendations we have? So want to make sure we do a shout out for that. I'll put a link down below. That is a gift to both executives in the mortgage industry and to top producers in the industry. I hope it will make you, it'll make you smarter and more successful as we go into the second half of 2022. Wally, anything you want to say about that report or anything you want to frame the call around before we?
Yeah, there's a lot I want to say about that report. I looked at all the photo you just had right at the beginning of the report, and you might have to pull it back up real quick.
Yeah, no problem. Boom. It is back up.
So I looked multiple times. I don't see my picture. There's a problem here. You're at what happened?
I couldn't get everybody, bro.
All right. No, so what I liked a lot about the report, it kind of helps you calm down. It's kind of like what you and I talked about early in the beginning of the call is, you had said that the goals we set last November for 2022, throw them out the window. It's a completely different market, a completely different mindset. And after seeing and reading that report, it helped me understand that, where before I was more along the lines of, all right, I got to grind harder. I got to hustle harder. We got to sacrifice some evenings, sacrifice some weekends. And you kind of end up losing your sanity a little bit in mortgage. So I thought that was a great woo-saw type of moment.
Well, thank you for that. And I'm going to put a link down below, guys. And as ideas come up, I am going to reference this report because I guarantee, well, I know for a fact, many of the things Wally's doing, they're right out of this playbook. And so, and Wally, while you weren't part of the, the interviews I did for this, because I interviewed you like, I think a week before I started working on this report. So you are in the report. You're just not one of the pictures of people I interviewed exclusively for it.
Yeah, you got to remember, Dave, I'm the middle child and I was the youngest for like 8.5 years. So there's a lot of a complex going on. Just saying.
That's hilarious. So why don't you do the introduction of Dominic? Why do you think we should have him on this stage, and why should other loan officers, both new loan officers and people that are mentoring loan officers, introduce him for everyone?
Yeah, I mean, he's a tough one to introduce because he reminds me, I believe, I could be butchering the coach, but I believe it was Wooten that said, it might have been Lombardi, but anyway, the coach said, I'm a much better coach with a very high level of talent to players. And for the moment that I met Dominic, you can tell that this amazing amount of energy, amazing amount of like emotional intelligence through a conversation and being able to navigate. You could tell that he was super passionate about wanting to get in the industry and wanting to really build a business and wanting to reduplicate what our team has done, where we focus on making an income for mortgage. We take that income and we go invest in real estate. And that was a really big passion of his. So what was great about Dominic to me is he was just a sponge. Everything I said, anything I said, he was writing down. He was taking notes on it. He was regurgitating back and make sure I understand this correctly, Wally. And a lot of it is he's a strong man of faith, and he's got really solid roots with his family and his girlfriend Bella. But what's super cool about him is he implements everything I tell him to implement, and that's extremely rare. Majority of loan officers that unfortunately will come at me for coaching or want to grab a coffee or lunch or whatever the case is. We share all these ideas and theories and they think it's cool and this and that, but the implementation kind of lacks. So what excites me the most about Dominic is his passion for the business and his curiosity to learn the why behind it. And then most importantly, his implementation. So no further ado, this is Dominic.
So
thank you, Wally. I really appreciate that, man.
So I want to make sure any new loan officer that heard that, you just heard the playbook of how to be a great team member. Hustle, keep promises, take notes, do what you say you're going to do to your mentor. And there's nothing you can do to reward a mentor more than what Wally just described. So if you have a mentor, someone that's brought you in the business, it's pumping energy and love into you, step one, do everything that Wally just said. So Dominic, welcome to the mortgage space, even though I know this isn't your first day here, but you now have achieved a level of success that it is incredibly unlikely that you will ever leave this space and you will ever be able to replace the income that you have. So, welcome to the, top producer status in the mortgage space. And let's start with your why did you get in the mortgage business? Like, what was your why from day one? I just want to get to know you better for the first half of this call, and then we'll really get into tactics.
Yeah, no, that's great, Dave, and I really appreciate that. You guys are both so kind, and you and Wally have really helped to do this for me and help do this with me. I appreciate all of your guys' kind words. This by no means, though, was a singular effort, absolutely a team effort. And, my success is not to attribute just to me, but to Wally, to you, to Todd Duncan, to our business development team. So really everyone. But nonetheless, getting started as far as my why goes and how I jumped into mortgage, if I'm going to be honest with all of you guys, I actually fell into mortgage. It was not originally part of my plan. I was originally wanting to go chase down the Wall Street investment banking, that side of things, maybe go into private equity, something along the lines of that. But I studied finance and real estate in school. And upon graduation, I graduated actually in May of 2020. For those of you who don't know what date that is. That was right in our friendly time of the peak of COVID. So I actually had a job locked up for a couple of years with American Airlines, working in their real estate financial department as an analyst. I had interned there as well. But as you can imagine, when COVID came along, the airlines didn't fare too well. So ended up losing my job there and really just had to get back to the drawing board. I didn't know what I wanted to do. There was not a lot of opportunity out, but as all of you know, mortgage rates were very low and a lot of people were jumping right in. So without going way down the story and too deep into the weeds, my father's friend and business partner, he owns his own mortgage company, a small mortgage company. And this was really where it all started for me. So he told me, Dominic, if you pass the test, you got a job. I didn't have another job, so I said, looks like I'll be taking the test. So I bought the books through Champions School of Real Estate. It actually looked like somebody might have commented who was perhaps my coach, which is super funny, but ended up doing Champions here in DFW, passed the test, and he held up his end of the deal and gave me a job as his loan officer assistant. This gentleman was about 80 years old, and it was really a trial by fire type of thing. So sink or swim. I'm sure a lot of you guys know what that is like, just jumping right into the industry and not knowing where to go or what to do. I did not have the guidance, but it really was, I kind of joke around, it was like the boot camp of mortgage. Long story short, I worked for him for a few months and I met Wally actually through another teammate of ours. And I just had an initial sit down with him and he walked me through his models and his systems. And it really just opened my mind to the opportunities that mortgage can create. Like Wally said, I'm very passionate about investing in real estate and building passive income. And so I was really, really drawn to the models that he had in place here. Everyone knows what it's like to wear the processor hat and underwriter hat and every other hat there is in the world as a loan officer. So I was really excited to see, the system that he had set up here. And then really from there, I came over to Wally's team in April of 2021. And man, I just have loved it since. It's, like I said, it kind of fell into my lap, but I ended up really finding myself at home, just really due to the ability to make connections with people and help them achieve the same financial success that I'm so passionate about.
Yeah, so it's pause right there, Dave. Can you imagine being your first year in the mortgage business? He gets training on Mortgage Coach, and he's got that right at his fingertips. He gets training through a concierge team through HomeBot, and now he's got access to Sales Boomerang. But even his first year in the business, he gets to go to Todd Duncan's academy in December, and sitting toe to toe and having conversations with Todd, and then obviously it's super cool when you see people that receive opportunities earlier in their career and really, really take advantage of them. There's very few opportunities I put in front of Dominic that he's not just crushed. So
here's what I want to do. So community, anyone watching this live, whether you're on Zoom or Facebook and you have questions for Wally or Dominic, put those in comments. If you're watching the recording of this in YouTube afterwards, and there were just things you loved, put those in comments. Questions you have, put them in comments. We want to give maximum value. I am also going to put a link to a new loan officer playbook that I worked on. It's in LinkedIn. I'm also going to actually rewrite that after this call. I'm going to take what we learned in this call and create a new version of that, put it in the Mortgage Coach blog. So Wally, your picture will be on that one. So know that you guys are all part of upgrading the Mortgage Coach new loan officer playbook. I'm going to ask a question, then you give color and you ask a question, and we're just going to go back and forth with Dominic for the next 45 minutes. So Dominic, you've now, how long have you been doing this?
So I've pretty much been originating for, August 2020 was when I truly was licensed. However, I didn't really start originating until August of 2021. When I came in with Wally, we did a 30, 60, 90-day plan. So, I guess technically speaking, I'm coming up on 12 months. I'm at 11 months of originating.
Okay, so your first year, and you've learned a lot. And obviously, you told us your why and your how you fell into the space. But now you've got a why that's, I would imagine, richer than I want to close loans on time and I want to make X in commission. My imagination is that you have a a couple sentences in a paragraph as to what is your mortgage why. I want to hear that. What is your mortgage why today?
Yeah, absolutely. And, Dave, if I'm going to be honest with you and honest with everyone else, 1 year coming into the industry, this job is not easy. Anyone who comes and asks me what it's like or the challenges I face, it by no means is easy, and it's not a conventional job. And so I do have to keep my why on the front of my mind. Wally knows this is something we talk about a lot. But at the end of the day, for me, I'm a big people pleaser. So I have some difficulties in mortgage sometimes when things are not going as planned, but I really just love making others happy. It sounds kind of cliche and kind of cheesy, but that it truly is where I get the most joy. Those people who don't think that they can buy a home or don't think they could ever achieve their first investment property, things like that. The glow on their face at closing and giving them the keys and clear to close and just making those kind of finishing touches on all of the ends of the transactions and tidying up those relationships. That's what I love about it. Sure, do closing mortgages and all that, that's fine. But the relationships and the connections and the changes you make in people's lives, that's what I love about it.
Love that. Beautiful. And so much more than closing a loan and getting a commission check. Wally, comments and questions?
Yeah, that's a great why, and he's truly 1,000% correct. But this dude will not quit. And what I mean by that is, like, if it's a difficult loan, I'm like, bro, this amount of time you're going to spend on this difficult loan, let's just set that time aside. You can prospect 2 more referral partners, but he just won't quit. So I just step out of his way. And I remind this guy on our team named CJ, which he'd be a good interview also, but he and CJ both, man, and Shane also, and the rest of it, they just don't quit. So I love just the grit that they have. And when they make a commitment to a borrower, it's like they've given their word. And what's awesome is Dominic's come in. He's really embraced our culture. Our culture is 110% efficiency and effectiveness. Those are two words that we live by. We're ready, fire, aim, not ready, aim, or we're ready, aim, fire. Wow, I should get fired from my own team.
Yeah.
We're ready, aim, fire versus ready, fire, aim. And, there's a model, there's a system, there's consistencies for everything. It just allows us to be super successful so early in a career. And if it takes you, 3-4 years to make 6 figures, you can make that your first year with our models and systems. And he's really adopted that. If you're trying to make $250,000 in year 10 or year 5, you're able to make it year 1 and year 2. It's just about the models and systems that you truly adopted. Also, what I really love about Dominic's why is just how much he cares. Very unfortunately in the past, when I've tried to connect a referral partner to a production partner of mine, sometimes it doesn't go well. Sometimes, no one, the old adage, no one cares about your business as much as you care about your business. I'd be willing to say that the relationships I've helped Dominic capture, he cares about those relationships even more than I do, which is extraordinarily rare. And that chemistry and that culture is a lot of why we've succeeded together.
Wally's 100% correct. It is, kind of a blessing and a curse sometimes, but I truly do care so much. And the commitments I make to my customers, if I tell somebody the loan is closing, like Wally said, it is closing. I don't care what it takes. And sometimes that is to my demise, but I really do just love on the people. And at the end of the day, I think that's the main key.
I want to connect the dots to some just best practices, things we've already heard here. What I'm showing here are top producer best practices to having optimized conversion. And it starts at the top with things that don't cost money, that are relatively easy to implement. And then it goes all the way to the bottom. Being consistent is hard. Being a master at something is hard. But you know what? Curiosity and being a servant later, they cost no money. They do have to come within, but it is something that, I just want to call out as we're listening to this story and we're unpacking what makes part of this story is that you have a servant leader here that's really clear on, I'm here to serve and I get the joy of winning when I win for the consumer. Okay, so check. Wally, let's ask him another question to unpack the story at a core strategic level, and then second half we'll get tactical.
Yeah, one thing I told Dominic the first time we met was there's no such thing as a self-made man or a self-made woman or a self-made successful person. I told him from day one, a lot of people look at me and if you look at my past and, growing up and the childhood I had, if you know my story, there's so many people, oh, you're a self-made man. You're self-made. That's like the biggest line of baloney I've ever met. There's so much success that I've had because of others have poured into me. And Dominic, what I want you to kind of explain is, unfortunately on this call, you can't have like 50 people on this call, but who's all poured into you, and specifically talk about the business development team that we built here at TW. I don't like calling it Team Wally, so let's call it TW. But around the business development team, what I mean by that is there's three major components. And what I like you to kind of elaborate is, and this is for the branch managers and team leaders, is if you could build leverage within your team, these successful loan officers can pull down on that leverage. So let's start one by one. So you having someone that is called the script master that helps you focus on conversion and knowing what to say, when to say, and how to say it from pitch to tone. How does that help you increase your conversion rate, which is more success and more income?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, scripting just as a whole, I think arguably is the most important, missing piece that most people don't have. When I came onto the team, and you obviously know this, Wally, but we were scripting every day for a few hours a day. And, it did seem pretty excessive at first. And I didn't see, I didn't understand the purpose fully just yet. But it wasn't until I had met with Caleb Moore and we had unpacked, truly how people interpret information on the calls and the way their feelings and emotions are affected and how that comes into play in decision making. I mean, it really opened my eyes to how much more you can succeed and help others win by understanding how to communicate effectively with people. And unfortunately, I think a lot of folks in my generation, the screenagers, you could say, are lacking there in the communication skills. And it's still something that we practice every day. As you know, we're still putting an hour in per week with our scripting coach, each of our loan officers on our team. And then aside from that, like Wally mentioned, the amount of leverage that it provides me to offer those services up to our referral partners to help empower them as well, it really is just unmatched.
So let's go to number two. So number two is you got a social media specialist right at your fingertips, and Alec. So, and now Brittany. So you, obviously y'all's generation, super social media, this and that. But when I look at your social media, super professional, very articulate, very eye-catching. How has that helped you be able to get in front of, through social media, to so many referral partners? So when you get a chance to meet them, they already know who you are, and it's just the conversion rate so much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Without giving away too many of the secrets, but essentially what we do is we do some very, very strategic marketing out to our, so-called future referral partners, anyone that we are interested in going out and meeting with. And we do put a lot of effort and time and money into having, polished social media pages, like you mentioned, because I think in today's day and age, it really has become, your first line of defense for your reputation and for your business. As social media has become more and more prevalent as the years progress, and it's only going to become more prevalent. We're even seeing, things like TikTok move their way into the financial services industry, which originally was meant for dancing and for little kids. So if you're not continuing to keep up with the innovations that are happening in social media, I think it's just a huge, huge glass ball you're dropping. And like you said, when we go to meet with these referral partners, Wally and I, we love playing Batman and Robin and showing up together, but we both put a lot of effort into our social media. And so if they don't know Wally already through social media, when they jump over to our pages and check them out, they do see, hey, these guys are the real deal. They have clean, polished content. They're well put together. They have clear contact information, a nice website. A lot of those things people don't think are important. However, it ends up being a subconscious thought that a lot of people have and a reflection of you as an individual and a professional.
Yeah. So now you've known what to say. Now you're Instagram famous in mortgage, which has opened a lot of doors for you. So talk to me about efficiency. So we've got a technology specialist on staff that he names himself the time wizard. He gives you back your time. So year one in mortgage, I feel a lot of your success, you get a lot of credit for it. Don't get me wrong, but having time blocked on a daily basis for 2 to 3 to 4 hours a day of prospecting day after day after day after day after day keeps your foot on the gas. Now, talk to me about efficiency. So with having a technology specialist on staff, how has that helped you become more efficient versus the previous mortgage career?
Yeah, absolutely. So our technology specialist, Josh, he helps us, automate all kinds of things that are, repeatable tasks or just very, very simple data input type things. And what that's allowed me to do is, let's say it's an hour a day. Well, if you're working 5 days a week, you're now having 5 hours back for your entire week. That's almost a full work day for some people. So, finding innovation and automating a lot of different tasks that we do over and over again has been a huge, huge help. Aside from that, for folks who don't have the benefits and the luxuries of maybe having a tech person on staff, there's still ways that you can implement, growing to be efficient in time management and things like that. As Wally mentioned, I am a workhorse. I can work 12, 14, 16, 18 hours straight. And I have done it. And I did do it a lot in the beginning of my career, but it's not necessarily the key to success is working hard. It is absolutely important, but working smart is far more important. And those people who don't have the luxury of having a technology specialist, you should still be incorporating the tools that you do have, like time blocking. Time blocking was absolutely the biggest aha for me from Wally. Like he said, I would prospect 2, 3, 4 hours a day, but it's every single day. And that time is protected time on my calendar. And it is very clear to my entire team that time is for Dominic to be out prospecting. And so it really just, at the end of the day, the innovation and all that is amazing, but it really comes down to just following a schedule and being disciplined.
So go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, let me jump in because I want to drive. I do want to make sure we update the playbook, and feel free to keep that whole list together while you get another chance to jump in. But I want to make sure you guys all heard, new loan officers, you've got to be confident and comfortable with your scripts. And there's no excuse for anyone in the mortgage business not to have great scripting because, guys, we've got a playlist of all kinds of scripts. So not everybody is fortunate to have a mentor like Wally, but I'll bet you every mentor out there can give you some good scripts, and then you can leverage the community to get scripts that you don't have. So make sure you're watching that. I have some specific questions. Like
Dave, real quick, can I jump in? And I'm gonna give you a plug real quick. If, like Dave said about the scripting, if you guys don't watch Scriptapalooza or have not seen it in the past, I highly recommend getting in there and watching. Dave brings on some of the best, and a lot of people that we utilize their scripts as well. So just make sure you're utilizing that free information and content. It's incredibly helpful, take you to the next level.
Thank you for that. And Wally has been one of the leaders on that, and he will, assuming he says yes. He doesn't always say yes to me, but if he says yes to the next Scriptapalooza, we'll get a couple good scripts from Wally. And so a couple questions so that I could just fine tune the playbook. One of the things that we have in the playbook is, what do you do in the first 90 days? And I've had some leaders that have said, you know what? Everyone has to start with a database of 100. They need to have, who would they invite to their wedding? Dave Gallegos, when I did this last interview and updated it, he said that, I make them come with, I can't remember if he said 300, but the first, they come with this amount, and then 30 days, they have to do this. And then they have a period of time where they're learning, just like how to do a loan. And then they have like, when do they start using Mortgage Coach? So 3 questions for you, Wally. One, how many contacts do new loan officers have to come with? What training do you have around, just call it transaction leadership? And when do you make people start learning Mortgage Coach?
All right. So you know me well enough. I already forgot the first question. What was the first question again?
How many contacts do you want new loan officers to have?
So we start them off with 150. So we give them
150.
a document that says, you know, when they say, well, how many people in the database? Well, okay, cool. Here's 150 list of like, who's your dentist? Who's your parents' dentist? Who's your dry cleaner? Who's your parents' dry cleaner? Who's your Easter Bunny's neighbor's cousin? Whatever, right? There's 150. Like, I want 150 contacts from you. So the number is 150. What was question number 2?
150. Call it transaction literacy. You know, learning mortgage language, pre-qual. You know, do you start that first, and how long do you do it, or is it all learning by being an assistant and they're like, what is the transaction process?
Literally, I should be fired off this call because I did nothing for that. So we've got a phenomenal person, like literally my right hand. If she ever left me, like I'd lose both arms. Her name is Jessica. Jessica's who trained Dominic, not only in Encompass, but Mortgage Coach. Our models, our systems. I mean, her binder, God bless America, her binder has got like screenshots and how-tos and all this stuff. So I would say, Dom, when you said it's within the first 30 days.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you highlighted the 90-day plan, Dave. It sounds all too familiar, 30, 60, 90. But yeah, we do all sorts of different transaction training across the 90 days. And honestly, you know, we still do a lot of training. Wally has this meeting with our, you know, team ops manager on Fridays. We do a 1-hour training on those days, all loan officers and loan officer assistants on there. In addition to our continuing ed, and then in addition to the binder that he's referencing, which we refer to as the manual, which is, like he said, screenshots and directions on every single thing you can possibly imagine. So the transaction literacy is definitely ingrained pretty deeply.
Now advice literacy, you know, learning how to deliver advice versus price. When did you start using Mortgage Coach? And Wally, add any color you want around this.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say within the first 30 days, but you know, CJ and our team deserves a lot of credit for that. For the first 12 months, he was Dominic's mentor. They'd meet multiple times a week. They'd meet every morning. And what was great about CJ was he poured so much in Dominic of how to use Mortgage Coach to separate himself with competition. So Dom, elaborate a little bit about that. What was that investment, CJ, and you, for the sake of how do you use Mortgage Coach to help open doors for you?
Yeah, it's funny. I was actually thinking about this when this started. You might not believe me, Dave, but I actually do remember my first TCA. It sounds kind of funny, but it was actually one that I received for myself for buying an investment property. And CJ, who Wally's talking about, my other mentor, is the one who put it together for me. So when I was leaving my old company and jumping over to Wally, I was in the process of a transaction, and I was debating between 20 and 25% down. I think 30 was on the table too for the investment. And I super clearly remember him making the TCA and sending it over to my business partner and I, and me seeing it and just being blown away. I was like, what is this? How is it so clear? This is so cool, you know. Wally, he's all right. But I was like, this technology, are you kidding me? This is crazy. And I was literally just mind blown by the clarity that it provided to me, even at being in mortgage, helping me make my own decisions.
So branch managers and team leaders, pick up on that. If you want to land a loan officer for your team or branch, show a Mortgage Coach and they just walk in ready to go.
I mean, yeah, it was a little more detailed than that, but transparently, the technology was a huge gravitation piece for me. So yes, aside from clients, it is a great recruiting tool as well.
All right, so I want to see if there's some adds to these scripts. The current scripts we have for new loan officers with that list of 150 is that, you know, call all your renters and say, hey, I need your help. I'm a new loan officer. I need to practice my rep versus own. Do you mind if I practice on you? I just need to ask you a few questions. And new loan officers can, one, generate some first-time home buyers and practice so they get good at it. and then call all your homeowner friends and say, hey, need your help. I just want to practice my move up analysis. Can I practice on you? So those are a couple scripts we have in the playbook. Is it, first of all, do you have any thoughts on those? And do you have any other, call it new loan officer scripts that incorporates mortgage coach? How did you learn to use mortgage coach? So first of all, thoughts on those scripts. And I want both of you to give your thoughts. Dominic, you first.
Yeah, I mean, I had an instant idea off seeing that first one. I love that idea. When you're first getting into the business, just calling people, hey, can I show you what it looks like for you to, what it would look like for you to be in a position of home ownership? Or, let's look at a comparison between how much equity you would be growing as a new homeowner. And another idea I got from looking at that, I mean, you have to get creative and shift your mind into a position of thinking outside the box and where else you can generate business. One idea that I received from that script you just popped up, I've had great success going door knocking at apartment complexes and asking them how much they pay on a lease and if they would ever be interested in buying a home. It sounds kind of funny. I know most loan officers probably don't door knock, but I mean, you can pick up 100 leads pretty easily going and ask people how much they pay on a lease.
You've door knocked apartment buildings.
Yes, and then I've also asked the leaders of the apartment complex, hey, can I have a barbecue in the parking lot and just talk to your folks about home ownership? All sorts of different things.
Let's pause right there, Dave. That deserves a monster amount of credit. So there's a class called Bold that I signed him up for and he attended. And what's great about that is they've got to make, in this sales class, they've got to make 100 contacts a week. And that 100 contacts a week gets you to be able to graduate. But there's also if you make 100 contacts in one day, you get a pretty cool little ribbon. But the mindset shift that he was able to have for the sake of offense by being able to prospect 100 people a day, not a week, a day, a 24-hour day, 100 people a day, getting contact information, name, number, email, so on and so on. Dominic, tell us about the mindset there. Once you're able to to achieve a goal like that, how did that change how you handle your 8 to 5?
Yeah, 8 to 5. Come on, Wally. I wish it was 8 to 5. No, but I mean, really, it's about shifting the mindset. Wally and I talk a lot for me because I have a big, challenge and struggle, I guess you could say, with having a scarcity mindset versus more of a prosperity mindset. And what I mean by that is sometimes I just kind of get stuck in my own head, as a lot of people do when they're new in the business. There's not enough business for me out there. That's a lie that you're feeding yourself. And so it really took, really for me to go to Bold, to take that step back and realize not only is there enough business for me, there's enough business for everyone in my office and every other loan officer out there. And when I realized that, it was when I realized that it was more about just generating conversations with people that don't even have to be about mortgage. It is really just building relationships and contacts and connections and building the database and generating conversation. And now, I'm farther into the business and people know what I do and it comes up in conversation. And then we end up receiving referrals just through those relationships that we've created with people.
He's brave to have conversations in person, and he uses social media to warm up those conversations in person because those conversations through their social media platforms. He's going to a dinner party and people already know that he's in mortgage from there and the conversations just flow.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we were saying, I mean, it really is just about generating conversations, not only about mortgage, but what people want to achieve. I'm fortunate to be in an age around, we'll say 30 years old, where a lot of people are moving from new homes into newer homes or renting to owning, things of that nature. So we have a high volume of transactions within, I guess you could say, our cohort. So I just try to do a good job, really just asking people all the time, what does it look like for you getting into a home? When would you like to get in a home? People love talking about investment properties and investing in real estate. So just generating conversations around business and things of that nature.
So I'm going to use a term that you kids use called, that was full cap, not even 30. How old are you really?
I'm actually 24. I turned 25 in August.
Let's put things in perspective. I could be your father. All right, Dave, you have a question?
First of all, community, I want questions from you guys. So let's get a question before we wrap this up from the audience. But Dominic, I do want to see a mortgage coach strategy, because I do believe one of the single most valuable things any loan officer can do. But if you're new to the business, if you can come into this business and know how to be an advisor, like know how to ask a family a series of questions, and then you can literally give them advice. One, it's powerful because it's how the best of the best get conversion, but it's also powerful because you're going to have a new level of confidence. Like first of all, you're going to be smarter at mortgage strategy than 90% of loan officers in America, because it's not like everybody uses mortgage coach and everybody's an advisor. Most loan officers, they know how to close the transaction on time at a good rate. So I want you to share why you use mortgage coach now, and then I want you to share one mortgage strategy. And Wally, let's keep an eye out in chat for questions, and then you be thinking about a couple of your last questions before we wrap this up. But go ahead, Dominic.
Can I ask Dom a question before let me ask Dom a question before he starts. You interviewed me the first time in 2015, and I told you that, and I'll tell you again. Using mortgage coach is a standard on our team. It's not a suggestion. Not a suggestion. Every single homeowner gets a TCA, or we're not closing that deal. So it's a standard, not a suggestion. So Dominic, that mindset, answer it from there.
Yeah, that's a great point. But really, where mortgage coach came into picture for me was when I realized our job is more than just the transaction and more than just the mortgage, and it's truly around strategy. I was watching something interesting from Brian McCauley actually a little earlier today, but we are not here to just be application takers and close and fund loans. Our job is to help position these families for success, not only now, but moving into the future. So that involves, things like having conversations around discount points and break evens, and truly what the best strategy is for them as a family, not just the lowest interest rate. So really just adding value to them and helping them figure out the plan that is comfortable for them with their family's cash flow and expenses and things like that. Mortgage coach allows you to incorporate those things without being too complex or going too deep into the weeds and email and all those other unconventional ways of comparing different mortgage options. I used to send multiple fee sheets to people and then do a bunch of math on paper. So for me, having mortgage coach and being able to communicate using the scripts we have, the various strategies that I've put together for them, it not only allows me to be more confident coming into the call, having the information I need, but it really allows me to, I guess you could say, kind of usher the clients or lead them in the direction that we need to go.
And I want to remind folks, because you do a lot of volume. What is your production last year, and what are you trending right now?
TW. Are you talking about Dom or TW?
Dominic.
A year over year, you guys all know monthly production goes up and down. Year over year, like I said, I'm coming up on 12 months of producing on August 1st. So we're just about there, and I'm just crossing the mark of 23 million. So
cool. So, first full year in production, and I don't know exactly what the stats are, but the majority of loan officers, 70% of loan officers in America don't do that kind of volume. So it's, super legit. And you heard the confidence he has. He's playing a different game than most loan officers. It was about sustainable home ownership and helping people achieve financial freedom through making the right mortgage decision. So I asked you to bring a TCA to this call. And I'm sure there's a story behind it. There's a strategy that you're solving, and then there's a TCA. So what TCA did you decide to bring? Tell us what you're bringing and why, and then show it when you're ready to show it on the screen.
Yeah, and a quick note, especially for the younger loan officers, Dave, I won't lie and hide it. I face an immense challenge all of the time, just based on my age. And not only that, but time in the business as well. And mortgage coach really allows me to instill confidence in my borrowers that I know what I'm talking about and I know what I'm doing. And really approaching those calls with confidence makes a huge difference as to the confidence that the borrower is picking up from the other end of the phone as well. And I know that was just a side note, but I wanted to put that out there because I did feel it was important.
No, really good point.
Now let me share my screen here.
Hey, Dave, how does it feel to ask for a TCA and the loan officer actually brings it?
You bring a lot of them.
All right, you guys. Oh, I'm sorry, Dave. Go ahead, sir.
No, you're good. So what are we looking at and why did you pick this one?
I was just going to check. Are we looking at Sasha right now? I apologize.
Yeah, we're looking at it looks like a refi TCA.
Perfect. So my favorite TCAs to do are cash out refis. I personally just think that they're the most fun because it really allows us to open up the conversation of goals for the family. I've done a ton of cash outs. When I first came in last year, when rates were much lower, we were doing tons and tons of refis. I was making, 3, 4, 5 edges and TCAs a day. At this point, as the rates have increased, we're moving more to purchase edges, but this is one of my most recent transactions. This one should be closing in like a week or two. But the reason it's one of my favorites is because I love freeing up cash flow for families. Like I said, I find my why on the impact that I leave to them. So this family, I really connected well with them because not only are they real estate investors, but they also had a really high level of debt. We're talking a couple $1,000s a month on top of 3 mortgages for the investment properties and the primary residence. And this gentleman, he actually is a very, very loyal past client of Wally's. I know he has done a lot of transactions with us in the past. So it was really important that we unpacked all this. So I went over his credit report with him and had the conversation around low balances and high monthly payments and clearing those debts out first. However, his main goal of doing the cash out was to actually free up some more capital to buy another investment property. So after we had the conversation of allowing their family a little bit more financial freedom on a monthly basis, we actually freed up about $1,500 a month in monthly cash flow, which he was instead going to try and actually pay off another one of his mortgages. So instead, we paid off those high interest balances, free up some more cash flow for the family. And then as you can see, from our edge here, we've got 3 different options that we put together for him. Cash out is pretty much the same across all 3, but this is the cash that he's going to utilize to invest in another property. So it was really, really important that I showed him all 3 of these options here for, one main reason. As I mentioned earlier, I think calculating break evens is a very, very important tool and piece of information that most loan officers skip over. I don't know if it's a lack of confidence or whether they don't know how to do it or what have you, but oftentimes I'll hear from my clients that they're just getting sold the absolutely lowest rate. This gentleman had come to me getting a much lower interest rate than we were offering him. However, he was paying like $7,000 in discount points. For the strategy that he is trying to utilize, he will be refinancing this loan again in a couple of years, and that break even was like 6 years out. So it was actually a really, really bad approach for him. And what the mortgage coach allowed me to do here is I provided him these 3 options with less than 2.5 points on discount on his investment, and we walked through the break even on each, which then opened his eyes that he actually wanted to buy down the least amount. And now we're doing the 6.625% option here because it has the shortest break even. So that's just one example. I'm sorry, Dave.
Scroll to the bottom real quick.
Yes,
I
sir.
just want to remind everybody, check out the integration with experience.com and, check out, the long-term benefits of this. You could have added a little more. This helped to make a good decision, but just one thought in the future is, show, and I'm sure you do this sometimes, show strategies to prepay the mortgage and pay it off faster, or what if they took the money and invested it with a financial planner? I'm sure you do that sometimes, but anyone listening, just always be thoughtful of when that makes sense. Anything else you want to say about this one? And also I want to give Wally a chance to comment or ask questions on it.
Yeah, so really, I mean, just the last way we went with this was, and this is where our job as strategists and mortgage planners gets more important. We ended up opening up the conversation of another purchase as well, which in turn, I actually created another edge for him, another TCA showing him what the options will be utilizing the $80,000 to purchase. And then we calculated out new monthly payments, also using the TCA, and then averaging out his cash flow from his other Airbnbs. So this gentleman actually utilized multiple TCAs for this singular transaction.
Go ahead and stop sharing. And Wally, any comments you have or any questions you want to ask at this point? We got about 10 minutes left.
Nothing really productive other than some kind of a funny. So this gentleman Sasa, first loan I did for him was 2003. The TCA he got back then, remember that it was like a computer program that you put in and it printed everything out, and then I highlighted and I gave him to his closing. So he's been getting TCA since 2003, but the previous one was kind of paper and pen.
Love it. I know the feeling, man. I used to do a lot of paper, pen, and yellow sheets of paper. In fact,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this picture of me, Wally. My family found it a couple weeks ago. We're moving. I forgot that this even happened, but this was me the day pre-mortgage coach. You noticed, this picture is a picture for anyone listening to this where I was, 5 years in the business, killing it. I hadn't thought of mortgage coach yet, but I had thought of my advice makes a difference. Like that was my value prop. And then I wanted to look like, $1,000 suit, gold watch, Mont Blanc, buttoned up dude. But that wasn't really me. I mean, I was never that suit guy. I mean, I was that suit guy because it was a business tool, but I created Mortgage Coach so that I could just ask questions and then blow people's minds. The name of Mortgage Coach is Wow Tools before I called it Mortgage Coach. And people would go, wow, I never thought of my mortgage like this. That was the game. And so I remember those days, brother. All right.
Hey,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to add one quick thing on there. It's funny that when you give that analogy of like the aha moment, honestly, that's what Mortgage Coach I think really provides to me in immense value. Is it is the vehicle that I use to get people to aha. And when they're at aha is my highest point of conversion. When I had a lady in here last week, we actually went over a TCA in person together, and she was shopping a mega shopper. We had like 8 loan estimates we were comparing against. And I sat with her for an hour going over the TCA, explaining break even and points buy down and things like that. And we got that aha moment. And she actually called all the loan officers right in front of me, and we locked in that day and went with it. And it was literally just due to being able to give people that moment through this tool.
So wait a minute. So first of all, Mortgage Coach team, that's a little piece of micro content right there. Like let's snip. And then if you could give us a TCA, let's like take her name out of it. But I want to see the game winning TCA, like that's when you have a shopper that's got 9 estimates, first of all, there's a lot of loan officers that just be like, good luck. But he took the time, by the way, Wally's one of those. But he took the time and he won at TCA. So would you mind forwarding a sample of whatever TCA won that 9 shopper deal?
I will. I'm going to actually have to revise it because as you know how these folks go, we've since made, I think, 4 revisions, switching terms again as well, and more TCAs. And so I will have to send you over a couple of those and make them revert them back.
We don't have to go through the whole story, but that's another reminder. Anyone listening to this, the total cost analysis will create the wow the consumer. It also makes your job faster and easier. Like it saves you time in workflow. So Wally, we got 7 minutes left. You were the mentor here. Any questions you want to ask or any leadership mentor things you want to say to the audience? We got new loan officers and we have mentors watching this. Where do you want to take this last 6 minutes?
I would just say with several of the mentors, you've got to create tools. I'll tell on Dominic for a minute. I remember he think it was maybe a month or 2 months in or something along those lines. So, hey, you got to time block 4 hours a day prospecting. And I see him the next day. And he's like, how many hours do you get? And he's like, 1.5. I just got so busy. I had these fires, all this stuff.
With
And I
one
said,
file.
yeah, one file. And it was funny. I remember telling him, I said, all right, here's what I want you to do. I want you to have a notepad to the right of your desk, and it's going to be the 55-5 rule. Obviously, that's something that any of us have done this many times. And for many years, we've had to do that exercise, and something Todd Duncan challenged me on years ago. And he does this 55-5 rule. And what was super, like, I knew it was going to happen, but was super great about it, the 55-5 rule, like, worked out the coaching for me, period. And I remember one thing he said. He goes, man, when I was doing my 55-5 and I had to write down, I got on Instagram for 20 minutes, or I got on TikTok, or I got on whatever. And he was playing on his social media. I'm like, and he's like, he just couldn't get himself to write that down. But talk just a little bit. No, I'll take the last 3 minutes. But anything you want to add? 60 seconds.
Wait. Before we do that, not everybody knows what the 55-5 rule is. So real quick.
So 55-5 is you work for 55 minutes, write down what you did for 5 minutes. Work for 55 minutes, write down what you did for 5 minutes. Work for 55 minutes, write down what you did for 5 minutes. And when you've got to write down, I got on Instagram for 20 minits, and that tallies up at the end. Oh, I was on social media today for 2.5 hours. It's like, hey, boss. I got paid today to be on social. It's a different conversation, and it does all the convincing that you need as a branch manager or a team leader to your loan officers to understand they have a lot more time on their hands than what they need to. Right, Dom?
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys probably know this by now. I can go on talk forever, so I will try not to. But at the end of the day, I mean, it really just comes down to consistency and following the schedule. I was even having a conversation with Wally last week. I won't lie to you guys again. I oftentimes need to recalibrate myself and remind myself of the things that worked to provide me the success that I have now. And I have to reorient myself back on that goal and that trajectory. And a lot of that really is just following the schedule. As the market shifts, that does mean for me getting back into prospecting and blocking those hours per day to do that. And you have to stick to it. You have to honor it. And like me, if you have to lie to yourself and write down the wrong thing on your 55-5, then you probably need to reevaluate your daily activities.
So a couple things I want to make sure get said. I think anyone who listens to this, you've heard Todd Duncan get mentioned multiple times. And this is the 30th anniversary of Sales Mastery. And it's also the 25th anniversary of Mortgage Coach. And I launched Mortgage Coach on the Sales Mastery stage. And I think this is a really pivotal year for the mortgage industry. It's the first year where loan officers have been this out of shape from a selling perspective. Like, guys, for the past 3 years, the fish have been jumping in the boat. We didn't have to, figure out what bait to use. We didn't have to know how to cast. We didn't have to know how to land the fish. Like, we're out of sales shape. And so I just want to put a shout out to any mentor listening to this. Important year to be at Sales Mastery. It's an important year to bring some of invest in your team. Like if you are mentoring someone, figure out how to get them to join you at Sales Mastery this year. And also just representing what Sales Mastery has been to the industry for me in being Mr. Mortgage Coach. It's a very special year. So check it out online. We'll put a link down below. There is a Mortgage Coach discount. Todd told me with that I think it's Savage. I think it has my name in it. But I'll put the link. And if you are a Mortgage Coach, just know there is a Mortgage Coach discount and link. Wally, any leadership thoughts you have on for leaders and loan officers about Sales Mastery this year? And then be ready to close it out strong, Dominic. Right after Wally goes, you're up for closing thoughts.
So the first Sales Mastery that I went to is back in also 2003 when I got introduced to Mortgage Coach, believe it or not. And to me, I was so in awe of everyone on stage and just like so enamored and wow. And I was taking all these notes. And well, number one, find the ticket, get there. I had to borrow money from a good buddy of mine, Scott Millsap. I had to borrow $5,000 for the sales mastery ticket, airfare, and the hotel just to be able to go. And he put me on a payment plan. I paid it back. But I had to do whatever it took to get there. Once you get there, again, I get it. Sometimes you want to have a drink. Sometimes you want to go out party. Sometimes you want to live the town. You know, one thing, a nugget, and you call me boring if you want, but what we do, don't really do it much anymore, but we did back then was we'd all be in the same room. We'd have, sheets on the wall, taking down notes. We'd come back after every evening and mastermind. The point I'm trying to make is please go, number one, but what you invest in it is what you're going to get out of it. So I'll be there speaking, which was a great honor from Todd, and it's just been, he's one of my best friends. So excited about that. But Dominic, bring us home.
Well, wait. I put a link down below. Todd just texted me. The discount code is SM Savage. So Sales Mastery Savage. I've been there every year. And there's a discount code and link down below, guys. Get after it. That's what it looks like, guys. It should be amazing. This is not a sales mastery to be missed, y'all. So Dominic, bring us home.
Yeah, I mean, a couple different things, just piggybacking off that. Sales mastery is expensive. So don't be surprised when you see the price on there. It's worth every single penny and then some. I probably paid double of what it costs. You really only need to close like 2 deals to get your money back. So definitely go. And I just wanted to piggyback off Wally and Dave. You know, at the end of the day, it all does come down to implementation and sticking to the schedule, and working to be efficient. And if you're going to not take all the great advice that has been given and implement it, then, you know, there's really no point in being in this business. It is very challenging, and implementation and measuring your career in not days, but years. The fact that this takes time to build these relationships, it takes patience and it takes consistency. I think that's just my biggest piece of advice. Don't get defeated and beat up when it doesn't happen right immediately.
Well, thank you both for your leadership, making time to give back to others. Dominic, can't wait to hear your story, develop and grow, and interview you again. If you're watching this and you liked it, give it a like in social media. Share it with new loan officers, share it with mentors of new loan officers, and appreciate everybody's time and attention. Wally and Dominic, appreciate you both. Take care.
Thanks,
gentlemen.
Dave.
See you guys.
Ciao.